Welcome back to Scholarship Cafe. Today I'll be talking about checklist for your graduate school application. My name is Muyiwa. I'm your pilot for this channel. As you're preparing for graduate school application, here are the list of things you should take. The first on my list is your CV or resume. This is a very important part of your application. The difference between the CV and the resume is the purpose. Why resume is about 1 or 2 pages for job and also for industry work. CV has no limit. Instead, it captures everything, including your experience, professional affiliation, educational qualification, award, etc. I'm kind of biased against the use of resume for graduate school. Anyway, I strongly recommend CV. Your CV must be well tailored. It must be well written. It must be error-free. It must be catchy. I always say your CV must be sexy. Yeah, so I will be addressing the rudiments of ideal academic CV in my subsequent video. The second on my list is your personal statement, or people also call it statement of purpose. I usually call this a kind of a blueprint of your educational journey, starting from what you study, why you studied it, the motivation that brought you to study that major, the experience obtained so far, like maybe you are a microbiologist or a biochemist, what you've studied, the hands-on experience. Maybe you've worked in the lab, you can prepare chemicals, you can do real-time PCR, you can do protein expression. I mean, those are the experience so far. Then you have to state the reason why you are applying to the graduate school. If there's a cogent reason, like you found the lab which you saw their area of interest is really attractive to your future, then again you have to talk about your long-term goal. The flow for your SOP, also the statement of purpose, has to be on point. It must not be disjointed. It must be beautifully written, no fiction. It must be well captured. I've read a lot of SOP or personal statement, and most of them are reading with emotional statement. This is what you want to avoid in your SOP. Like, okay, I would love to study to travel around the world, or a scenario which you say your home country is bad, you have no shoes, you have no water, you have no food. These are all emotional statements. Please avoid these ones in your SOP. You want to state the reason why you actually studied the major, the experience so far, as well as your long-term goal and why you think you're a good fit for the grad school, for the particular group that you're applying to. The third one on my list is your test score. This include English tests such as TOEFL or IELTS, graduate record exam, the GRE and the GMAT. It's important to check the requirement of your school of interest to know which of these tests are actually mandatory or waived. From my experience in the last 1 year, I'm aware that a few schools in the US actually waived GRE, and also in Canada, most schools, most universities waive IELTS for nationals of some countries, including Nigeria. So you want to confirm that these things are actually waived or mandatory based on your department, if you need a GRE or you have to take a GMAT. One thing that is also important in your checklist is your official transcript. This is a detailed document that highlights your grade as well as your courses. You can apply for this as early as possible, because yeah, it could be a problem if you start to process it at a later hour, especially when the system is not automated. Several schools in the US and also in most countries would accept the unofficial version of your transcript, and afterwards, when you have the admission, they request for the official copy. The fifth point, which you should understand, is your copies of academic degree, be it BSc, be it master's, or also your PGD. So you must put this in place. There must be official copy. You can have it saved on your drive, save it on your system, so that you can have access to the e-copy. The next on my checklist is your letter of recommendation. This is an essential part of your application that you do not want to joke with at all. Your recommendation letter should address your hands-on experience as well as your soft skills, such as good communication and oral skills, your presentation skills, ability to survive in a new environment, as well as maybe you're innovative, you're hardworking, you volunteered back in the uni, and your professor can attest to this. And it's also important, like I always say, you don't want to get recommendation letter from random people that cannot attest to your academic prowess. So it's always recommended that you request for this recommendation letters from your professor or someone below the cadre, as long as they can attest to your academics excellence. I kindly note that it's really a bad thing if a professor writes a shitty recommendation letters for you, and that is completely counterproductive. So you must ensure that your letter of recommendation addresses everything about your academic excellence as well as your soft skill. After this, I think another important thing is for you to search for schools. Like, okay, if you're interested in agri-economics, or you're interested in banking and finance, or you're interested in microbiology, or you're interested in zoology, you can just have a Google search, like, okay, schools offering microbiology in the US. You can see all the schools and you can make a list of them all together with their deadline, so that you can have a cross check of, you can track them when the application is on and when it's going to close. I know in most schools in the US, their application for fall start a preceding year, like, okay, it's maybe October to December, and so you have to submit your applications within the deadline. Another thing on my checklist is a cold email. For most universities, especially for people in STEM, you are required to contact a professor prior to submitting your application. A cold email, which I would also address in subsequent video, is an abridged version of your SOP stating why you're interested in the particular group, and that they also should consider you in that group. Like, you want to tell them why they must consider you. Like, if they do not consider you, it's like their loss. The content of your cold email must be on point. Starting from your salutation, you want to write, okay, dear Professor Olumuyiwa Igbalajobi, and not just I, Muyiwa. So your salutation must be on point. You want to state the first and the last name of the professor, and you have to write your professor in full. Then you go to the introduction, as well as, okay, this is the body of the email, why I'm writing you, and this, I think I'm a good fit for your lab because I've read your research interest and I would want to be part of your team. Yeah, another checklist you must consider is a proposal, which is quite optional in most cases, but it could also be of help to boost your application. You need a supervisor acceptance before you can write a proposal. Like, okay, you don't want to write a generic proposal which doesn't align with the professor or the group interest. So you need a professor acceptance before you can draft one, and often mentoring and guidance are always provided by the professor. So the last on my list for the graduate school application package is the application fee. Due to COVID, a lot of universities in the world now waived application fee for applicants. You should confirm with your school of choice if this is waived or not. And most schools as well, they provide such gestures at their open forum, or also by requesting for such formally, like, okay, you're financially handicapped or you cannot afford this fee. There are templates online which you can also check on my pin post to see how to request for an application fee waiver. With all these points, I'm pretty sure that you are ready to apply for graduate school. I wish you all the best and see you in my next video.